Hello and welcome to this live session. Today I've invited Steffen and Jonas, the founders of Vuuh.com, and we're going to talk about how to choose and how to find the best business idea. But before we get started, I'd really like you to hit that subscribe button and the like button if you want to watch more live streams like this in the future. With that out of the way, let's get started. The first thing that I think would be appropriate is to have a short introduction to Steffen and Jonas. Guys, can you please tell us a little about yourselves?
Well, I can start. I'm a former programmer turned entrepreneur, and have been, pretty much been an entrepreneur for 7 years now, and hopefully will continue to be so for the rest of my life. That's just short about me.
The short one, I'm the sales guy. I'm also a long-time entrepreneur. I built several companies in the past, and now I joined this Vuuh journey together with Steffen. Yeah.
Awesome, guys. And can you just tell us a little about what Vuuh is?
Do you want to? Or should I?
You can do it.
Yeah. Well, Vuuh today is, we call it a transformation platform where manufacturers can transfer their data as is in their systems, and then we can help them transform it into whatever look they want it to be, pretty much so they can live up to the different data requirements that their different retailers have. And by doing so, we can save them a lot of manual time of editing a way a certain word is being written, because each retailer tends to have different ways they want stuff to be written. Long term, we also want to give this ability for smaller retailers. So smaller retailers pretty much will be able to auto-create products from their suppliers, so they don't have to sit and manually create their products. And again, with the option to make sure that the data is still unique and consistent across all their suppliers.
Yeah, that's really cool. And I think there's a lot of interesting things to talk about. But today we chose to talk about how you came up with the idea to start Vuuh. And I think that the audience would benefit from different aspects, both what went really good and what went wrong. But let's go back. How did you even start thinking about Vuuh and the product that you're building today?
Well, pretty much we started earlier with building marketplace technology. So we were actually doing something quite different than we're doing today. And back then we had a lot of stores connected to our platform where, we got all kinds of different data that we had to process. The purpose of the marketplace was to combine all the same products from all the stores. But we quickly identified an issue with stores providing really bad information about their products. For instance, if they just say a red T-shirt from some brand, then how do we solve it if that brand carries 15 different red T-shirts? So we sat and had a lot of manual work with editing this data, and also trying to identify from the pictures some automated processes to how can we figure out what data is the same products. And after a few years, we thought we found a good solution for this, also in a way where we can automate it, but also remove most of our manual tasks related to it. So we started a small InnoBooster back then. For those who don't know InnoBooster, it's public fund. You can apply for funds for innovative products and get some of the expenses covered in that aspect. But they ended up giving us a sum of money so that we could develop a prototype of this. And we ended up building this prototype and confirmed that it worked. Then started to investigate actually, what if we could actually earn money from this instead of just helping ourselves? Could we actually maybe sell this out to all the stores on our platform, because they also want proper data to be in their systems. So we saw it as a further revenue stream. So we started investigating different places. Would you be interested in this? And talking to the different stores. And we quickly found out that actually the problem and interest was way bigger for this than we actually expected, because we saw it as a small, or can you say, secondary revenue stream we could have. But in the end, to where we are now, we quickly found out that this was actually a way better path to go, because to our knowledge, there were no one else providing a transformation engine like we have. And at the same time, we had like the whole industry screaming for a product like this. So we pretty much swapped our strategy and are today now fully focused on this product, because we have less competition, first of all, but also can avoid competing against some really big players who have a larger budget to marketing and those things.
So from what I'm understanding, you found that where you started out, there was a lot more competition, and you found this problem and a solution to this problem, and you actually thought that there was a lot less competition in offering that solution. So that's why you actually had the courage to switch and maybe move away from your initial strategy.
Well, for my sake, of course, Jonas can also take it, but for me, I thought it was a good idea, not because there was less competition, but more because there was way more interest from everybody we talked to. And being with marketplace technology before, we were like earning per sale, and we were only taking a small chunk, and then we also had to pay for a lot of marketing. So in the end, the actual profit was super tiny. So there we had to build on bulk, where in this product we can actually maybe get a fairly big subscription and have almost pure profits if you look at it on not covering the expenses, of course, for developing a product, etc. But it's not something where we have to get a lot of bulk before we get money in. So that was my
and also I know you can't say it for sure, but we haven't found any competitors, at least in our field, of what we are doing today. So that was super attractive to us to go into a new market and pursue that one instead.
And we also quickly found out that it was not only small players wanting this. We actually quickly found out there were some fairly big players who had huge challenges with this, and it gave us some options that we're lucky to have, because from the very early start of this new strategy, we found some really big companies who are willing to put in time and effort so that we can build up this product to solve their needs, first of all, but also solve a lot of other companies' needs. And of course, they'll bring hopefully some traction to us fairly quicker than have we had to do the approach with small actors alone.
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think that we're already now discussing what is a good business idea, because from what you're saying, there's a lot of different perspectives. There's both like the situation with competitors, there's the business model itself, and a lot of different elements to choosing the best business idea, but also to structure your business idea. Because even though you have like a solution to a specific problem, you can do different business models together with that solution. So in general, what do you guys think is a good business idea, and what do you think that you need to consider when talking about that?
I would say it's about having the right value that the right people is willing to pay for. So you create enough value to give them, and you should also be sure that you have a way to market this idea. The value is what I think is the most important part.
The value that you create for
you create with your business, your service,
and And I would also say that it's important that it's a business idea that is being told as being good by the actual customers, and not just you thinking that this is an awesome idea. So having a lot of research, talking to a lot of potential clients, is this something you have a problem with? Is something that can save you money, optimize, whatever? Because in the end, if the clients don't see the value in it, you can have the best idea in your own head, but if the clients don't see it as a good idea, it's a shitty idea.
You need to get some proof of your concept. And I know that you also did that when you started your company. How did you go about it to find out if people were actually interested? You said that there was a lot of interest, but sometimes you need just a little more than just people saying that it's interesting. You want them to commit as much as possible, preferably pay, but in the beginning where you're just doing research, you can't really, you don't have the product ready yet. So what do you do in the beginning to actually prove that your business idea is good, that customers want it?
What we did was that in Vuuh.com, we have a two-side business. So we have the web shops. Steffen made a lot of calls to different web shops to hear if they found the idea interesting. And we also together visited a lot of the clothing brands here in Denmark to ask them if they thought our idea had enough value. And we also made them sign a letter of intent, which is a document that tells, or where they sign that they believe in the idea and they are willing to test and help with the product. So that was basically the way we handled that.
It was pretty much a confirmation from a lot of different manufacturers that they saw the value in the product and they found it super interesting. But of course, it was not a contract that they will actually pay for the product, but it was more like a piece of paper saying that if they can do what they say, then we would pay for it. So it's pretty much just having a lot of what can you say, documentation that actually proves that your potential clients like the product, and I would say that's more a proof for when you have to raise money afterwards, that you can tell your investors, look, it's not just me saying that everybody likes it. I have the proof here, and then you can showcase some names or people that they know and know are doing well.
That's one of the sides. The other side is that it's also a very valuable process to get some feedback from the right people. During this process, we got some good things that we could add to our product and make it even better. So when we have to offer it to the market, it would be a better fit.
Yeah. And in general, you can also say if you get people to sign stuff, they are more cautious. So if people are actually willing to sign stuff, it probably most often means that they're more serious about what they're telling you instead of just telling you what you want to hear.
Yeah, definitely. Because when they commit, even though it's only a contract and there's no, financial aspect yet, still it is a commitment, and that's better than nothing, because oftentimes people will probably just bounce off and tell you what you like to hear or give you some positive feedback. Obviously some people would be honest, but it's not easy to know what they really want if they don't have to commit. If they have to commit, then I think it's a bit more clear what they're thinking.
Yeah, I also think it's a good signal when you do notes like that, the letter of intent, that of course you can show the value to the investors, but you can also show them that you have some kind of a business sense, that you know what you're doing and you know what tools you have available and what you should use in the right places. Yeah. Also for the bank and such.
Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. So here's the next question. What was the biggest surprise when you started out?
Yeah, well, of course, we have the history from also doing marketplace technology. So we gained a lot of, what can you say, knowledge during the years of how to do stuff, so we can avoid a lot of the newbie mistakes, if you can call it like that. But I think if you look at it as being a new entrepreneur getting into stuff like this, I think a lot of people will actually be surprised just to figure out how hard it can actually be just to get a bank account attached to a company. Because these days, most banks are not that willing to take in a lot of entrepreneurs because they're worried of losing money pretty much. So I think a lot of people are having a hard time getting to get a bank account set up. And usually it also requires you to move your whole personal affiliation as well for when there's actually one who wants to give you a bank account. But if we talk maybe just how to run a company, I think the biggest surprise is that you're probably way too optimistic when doing your budgets, and also the time frame it takes before you're done with the development you're supposed to do. In your head, stuff takes 6 months, and then when you are finished and done it, it maybe took 16 months instead. So I think that's the biggest surprise. It is that stuff actually often take way longer in all aspects, not only development. Than you plan for. Do you have some?
Finding employees, especially developers, has been not a surprise, but a hurdle for us. It takes way longer, and it can also be quite expensive if we want to use some recruiters to do so.
That part is always very difficult, and it actually doesn't get that much easier because it just increases the number of people that you need to join, that you need to get to join the team. It just increases, and it's always a big deal actually.
I would actually say one thing that surprised me a lot with these developers was that it's very common to jump around and try to get a higher offer for salary and then go back to your own employer and get a higher salary there instead of changing job. That's of course super annoying because it takes a lot of our resources and energy spending time with the people who are actually just after higher salary.
And then I also think it's I feel it's a big surprise that when you actually get employees, it's a big surprise for you that they're not as thrilled about the product as you are. And that you always go in with the mentality that, oh, this is perfect and our setup, or you can get a free soda or something like that, and it's like you get the best perks, and then you get a person in and it's like jack shit to them. And that's, for me at least, a big surprise, figuring out how to do a company culture that actually will motivate people to stay. Also, like Jonas say, that we don't get them to go out and search for new jobs. That was actually way harder than I expected, because I thought that in my head that was going to be easy because I know exactly how it's going to be perfect.
But I didn't. That's something that is very difficult to everyone, because it's about motivating people, and naturally I think it's difficult to expect that they would ever be as motivated as the founders. And then it's up to the founder team to motivate people, and that's just insanely difficult because we're all human beings, and we're really complex, and it's not just even though it's nice to have some soda or coffee at the office, but it's never like that. It's always more, and how understanding what they want in their life and where they're going, and trying to align those things. So I totally agree. It's very, very difficult.
Yeah, and then you can also say if you're in the early stages, just the whole how do I raise money thing, that's also a big surprise, because now with the Løvens Hule, the Danish Dragon's Den, people are maybe not seeing the realistic picture of how stuff works in the real world. It's not just you go in for 2 minutes and say, I have this company, and then you get thrown money in your back. There's actually a huge process, both with going in and pitching and being able to answer a lot of questions, and also having results that you can show, i.e. the letters of intent or sales if you're further and stuff like that, something that proves there's interest in the product. That was also a big surprise way back when I started.
And just to get the chance to pitch is also a process, a big process itself. There's often gatekeepers who is in front of the big business angel networks who has to approve what goes in and what goes out.
And that you can also go to potential clients who can also have gatekeepers that you need to go through to actually get in. So you might have the perfect product for some big company, but because some low-level employee who's the gatekeeper didn't see the value because they have no idea how stuff works, then it might be a challenge to even get through to them. We experienced that a lot as well, having to go through jumps and hurdles to find the right person who actually knew that there was a problem.
Definitely. So let's just do a quick recap. So a good business idea is something that will create value to the customer, and you have a really good solution. But in order for you to move forward with your business idea, you need to also prove that it's not only something that you think is a good idea, but it's actually something that customers are willing to pay for. Now, you're a software company and you develop software. So you obviously need somebody to test the software before you actually sell it. And I think that a lot of companies have a similar process, that they need somebody to have a look at that product before they actually launch it and do the final version, to get the feedback. So, and that's also a part of the process of finding out if your business idea is good enough, to prove that somebody else than you think it's a good idea. How do you get the first beta testers, or how do you get the first interested customers? How do you do that? Because the product isn't finished yet.
Well, I would say, in my head, a big mistake that a lot of people do is that they expect people to be willing to pay for a product without having heard about it, tested it, or anything else. That specifically is something that bigger companies will be super aware of, and then, like Jonas said, he can take over in that aspect.
It's super important to reach out to the customers. In our case, it's of course different from what business model you have and what market you're in, but ours is business to business. So we could pick up the phone and just call and ask if we could come by, present the idea and stuff like that. That works in our case. It might be different if you have a web shop or.
But I would say that it's important that if you're in the early stages, your product is not ready, it might have hiccups. Well, then find someone and tell them that this product is in this stage and it can have these hiccups, but you don't have to pay for it. You can use it, take your input, and you get the first benefits of being the early adopter of this, and get an advantage that your competitors don't have.
The feedback is way more valuable than the price you might be able to charge for it at that early step.
Plus, a lot of people would, if there's even a tiny price, they'll be like not paying for that because it's not stable, it's not been tested, and especially again, if we talk big players, bigger companies, a lot of them they are scared to deal with startups because there's the risk of them closing down. So the more confidence and risk-free you can make it for them, the higher the chance you have of also getting some bigger ones to take you in, so you can nurture your product and actually have some good grounding for growing maybe early on.
So getting some early customers or beta testers on board is a part of the process of proving your business. But in the end, I mean, the final test would be that people are actually willing to pay and that you can find those people, meaning that you are actually able to market your product and find those and sell, both market and sell your product. So that is also like the final test before you can really say that this is proven. So you need the traction, you need some revenue and stuff like that, before you can actually say that this is something that customers love and are willing to pay for.
Yeah, and also when you have people using it, you can track their usage. How much are they using it? Are they using it on a regular basis? Are they using only a subset of the features, or are they using all the features? Because that also helps you to identify where they gain the most value. And if you can see that they're using it fairly often, that also often means that they would be willing to pay for it, because then it's become a process that they use in their daily basis. So that's also something that's important when you have beta testers, that you actually track what are they doing in your system, and you don't just let them in and then have no idea what's going on. So I would say that.
So how many early customers do you think is needed to figure out if, because if you ask, in my mind, if you ask one company if all this is good and they say yes, then it's just one company. Maybe 10 other companies wouldn't like this product or the way that things are developed. So how do you make sure that you don't just develop something for one specific customer? How many beta testers do you think is needed, or is it okay to just have one?
Well, I would say it depends on the beta tester. But of course, if you go with only a few select, it also has to, because they can bring a lot of value in the other end. But at the
further down the road in a commercial perspective.
Right? Yeah. Well, for instance, in Vuuh, we have one big party that we are working actively a lot with. We know they can provide a lot of business going forward, and we have told them that that's pretty much the requirement for us going in this direction and giving them this much attention. It is that we are expecting them to give us all this business in the future. Yeah. But I would say it's of course always good to go out and have some testers of different sizes. So you might have some small companies and some medium size and some big size, so that you also get some companies that have different issues in their daily basis.
Yeah, really good. That's a really good idea, because then you'd ask both the big companies and small companies, and they might have the same core problem, but they have different ways of doing things, so they would have different requirements to what you need to deliver. So, and maybe since a business is that early stage, it's not entirely sure what their final target customer would be. So is it actually the small customers, or is it the enterprises? It's difficult to know very early stage unless you've done it before.
Yeah, and there's also, of course, that you should never develop towards the needs of one tester. So you should always go in and see what are they asking for. Is it something that can be used by everybody, or is it something that's like only handling one problem that they have?
And it's also important to set up sub goals. So like, okay, now we have these maybe 5 clients. Does the core system work? Then we can have the next sub goal that could be, okay, can we actually lead traffic into our website, and is the customer able to log in and make their own account and create everything themselves? So all the way on the journey, every single process and aspect of the business has to be tested and
proven,
confirmed.
Yeah.
Before
you're right. The business idea is actually just one of the parts. There's so many parts that you need to prove that you can actually do. Like different activities, marketing, sales, and so on. So that's a really good point. Yeah.
You have the ground product, let's say the core businesses. That's one part of the product. Another part is the onboarding. That's also part of the product that also has to be working.
Yeah, but I think in terms of getting people on board very early is a good idea, because then they would help you shape the product, and you would eliminate a lot of the mistakes from the beginning. But there's a lot of talk about co-creation, where you actually create your product with the customer, like I know you guys are doing, and that's a really good idea. So you can have a select few customers help you in the very beginning, so that it's not only you sitting somewhere building something that you think is good and then later on presenting it? Because let's say you spend 6 months on building some features that nobody really wanted, you could have known that immediately if you had co-created it with somebody. So like you're doing is a really good way to get the instant feedback from an actual customer who can tell you if this is a good idea or not.
Plus you get the benefit of actually maybe getting them to be the first paid customers right away as soon as you reach that step. So instead of just building a product, ending up having to sell it before you get income, you're actually building up a lot of trust with maybe a select few. And then also those select few might be able to bring you more business on the side afterwards. So it's also building trust besides just catering to their needs. But like I said, it's still also important that if you have a select few you're working with, you also have to listen to all they say and also look at it. Is it worth building this, or is this just something for that party? Because we can't start to cater our product just to one client, because then we'll never earn money. So we have to make sure that when we do something, we have to look at it. Is this something that could benefit others? Yes, it is. Then we can start doing it. And if it's something that's very specific, well, then you can go to them and say, oh, this has to wait, or you can pay for it, or something like that, if they want that feature in. And of course, the further down the line we are, the more they would also start to want to invest into it, maybe. But yeah, making sure that you fit a lot of potential clients, and not just a few, is very important.
Yeah. All right. So we got a question here. How do you keep yourself motivated, and how do you motivate others?
Well, I think when you're an entrepreneur and you're building your own company, that motivates yourself as an entrepreneur. And I think every entrepreneur has to understand that you'll have a lot of shitty times where you just have to believe that stuff will get better. And I also think that's where most entrepreneurs actually fail. It is that when it gets really, really hard, a lot of them, they say, let's stop, let's move to a safe, regular job and stuff. But the people who are actually willing to move through that, maybe have some months where you get no salary, you maybe end up getting debt because you had to do all kinds of weird stuff. But being able to go through those things, in my opinion, is what defines an entrepreneur. And that also requires you to be motivated yourself and really feel that this is your baby.
And what motivates you to keep going, even though it's difficult times?
Well, I can start with for me, it's more that we're making a difference. We can really see that, okay, when we're building our product, we can actually save a lot of other companies a lot of money and time and efforts. So we're not just building something where we have to sit and have a call center afterwards, spam people to try and get a few sales. We can actually go out and showcase that by taking us in, you can actually free up a lot of extra man hours, or maybe save money depending on what they prefer, of course.
There's some fulfillment in creating an idea or a business that solves an issue you encountered yourself, and you just want to bring it to life.
Yeah.
Then it's a mission to actually accomplish getting success and see if this idea actually is as good as you dreamed of.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we go to the aspect of how do you motivate others, in our company we introduced a system called Promises, where we pretty much every week on Mondays sit down and talk everybody about what are we going to do this week. Everybody set a goal for themselves, so it's not someone telling someone you have to do this, you have to do that, but it's more that everybody gets to know what am I doing this week, what is Jonas doing, and that way there's full transparency to everybody what's happening, who's doing what, why they're doing it, And at the same time, we are also super transparent about everything financials. Of course, we're not going into the budget and everything, but we keep everything transparent in regards how much money do we have, when do we need to find new funding, and when are we planning to start that, and what happens if this happens, etc. And I think,
yeah. And then we also try to communicate that this is a dream that we are going to pursue. We have a mission of saving a lot of hours at a lot of nice companies, and it's a problem that we encountered ourselves that we want to fill out. So we try to bring them on the mission together.
Yeah. And that's another good part about Promises. It is also that it encourages people to speak their mind, because the best way to encourage people is to bring them along the journey, like Jonas say, also that they can have a voice and raise concerns, bring good ideas, and they really feel like there's an open place where they can actually speak, and nobody would burn them down, or that there would be a gatekeeper to get to someone else before they could hear the idea. In this way, everybody has a voice, and we are sitting communicating about it, and often we actually end up figuring out some better solutions to some things, because someone had a good idea and another one had a different idea, and then we end somewhere in the middle, which was actually a way better solution to stuff. But I think it's crucial, the transparency. Yeah, the transparency is what motivates other people, that they feel that they bring value to the company, and that they are not just a pawn in the chess game that can be replaced. Because even the junior guy in the company, he has to feel like he's bringing value. Because if you just focus on the few core employees, well, then suddenly you would have invested a lot into the junior people, and then as they grow and get better, then they'll start to jump to other companies, and then you just get a bigger hassle. And at the same time, also the social aspects. We play games every Friday with our people, and we have a branch down in Romania, and we tune in on Zoom. We use, and then we sit and play a lot of games and have fun, and the company buys some drinks and snacks and stuff like that. And
we're the only company doing that in Romania.
Yeah. For instance, in Romania, they have never heard about the concept Friday Bar. So in the beginning,
at least what we know.
No, or at least the people we have employed have never heard about it. So they thought it was super weird.
Mm-hmm.
So
I think it's a good idea to to just spend time together, that where the theme isn't work, where you can just relax and have fun and get to know each other. I think that's really important, because otherwise it will be difficult to know how to motivate each other and figure out what people want and why they joined your team. So I think it's a good idea to just have an informal environment and get to know your employees.
Plus, you can also say the more you become friends, the less likely it is they want to leave, because you don't want to leave your friend hanging. But if you're just like some guy out here who has no social relations to the rest, they don't care about leaving. So at the same time as it being fun and you get to know people, it's also a good tool to make sure that people actually end up staying for a long time, because they make friends and have fun at the workplace. Then, of course, being a tech company, we also have flex time. People pretty much control themselves what they have to do. And with Promises, they make goals for themselves. So as long as they live up to their own goals, we don't really care how and when they do it. So that's also a thing, of course.
All right, guys, I think that that we covered the subject for today. I really appreciate you taking some time to talk with me, and I hope that you will, answer questions if there are any new questions in the comments later on, because the video is also there on YouTube after this live session has ended. And I will drop a link in the description for your website, so that people can go check you out and see what you're doing. And I think that's it. Thank you very
Yeah.
much for joining me today. And yeah, if you haven't already, remember to hit that subscribe button and the like button.